Hello everyone and welcome to Chess Place. So today I have a really nice game between Hikaru Nakamura and Anish Giri on Magnus Invitational Day 3 Match 2 Game 1 to present to you. White pieces are being played by Hikaru and black pieces are being played by Anish. So this is the only game today between these two that didn't result in a draw. So I hope you might like this quick review and yeah, I just hope you will like it as much as I did. So let's start. So Hikaru starts with d4, queen spawn, knight to f6, c4, Indian game. This is like Indian game normal variation, g6, and here idea for black is to play bishop to g6, and then bishop to g7, sorry, and then d6 move. And if he plays d5, then we have a different opening that is called Greenfeld defense. And idea for white on third moves are like knight to c3, knight to f3, and g3. So Hikaru plays knight to f3. We have bishop to g7, King's Indian defense, normal variation, e3, and Nakamura plays e3, opening the position for his white bishop and preparing to castle in two moves. One of the core principles of the openings in the chess, as you probably already know, is safety of the king. So we see that with these openings, both players have chance to address this and focus on developing advantage, not in the opening but later in the middle game. So black castles here. Now white can play like bishop to e2 and castle, and this is really what happens. Bishop to e2 and c5 move. Now c5 response from the black is so-called Benoni style response. Why is it called Benoni style response? So this is known as Benoni defense. It's a chess opening characterized by the moves d4, knight f6, c4, c5, and then d5. So as we can see, the only move that's missing here is d5. So let's see how Nakamura replied. Yes, in Benoni style. So this is exactly what Nakamura does, claiming his control in the center, but potentially opening this a1 to h8 diagonal for the black colored bishop. We shouldn't be that worrying for now, since Nakamura plans to castle on the king side and not on the queen side, where this bishop would prove to be, I would say, possibly very deadly if not addressed correctly. And funny fact to note here is that Nakamura had the same position against Fabio Caruana back in 2016 and against a few other players, but when he had this position against Caruana in 2016, he scored a victory. So he's very well, he knows this position, he knows probably a lot of different varieties of this position, and he feels at home when playing this position. So let's see how the game continued here. d6, and Anish Giri didn't play immediately e6 now to possibly open up the game, but decided to just play d6, open up space for his white colored bishop, and we can see what would have happened if here e6 would have been played. e6, so white can now play knight to c3 or castle. Let's say if it castles, now there is this nice b5 response for the black, offering the pawn on b5 in order to take away control in the center. How would that happen? So if you would take c takes b5, then e takes d5, and then as you can see, black takes the e pawn and has traded his pawn on b file here, where you can see the arrow, for the double pawns on the d file, which is the center file, and is slightly better for black to have this position than to have double pawns here. So let's go back to the position. So after d6, Nakamura castles, king safety first, right? And then only now e6 move, adding some pressure on the d5 pawn here. Knight to c3, Nakamura develops knight and adds defender on the d5 pawn as well. E takes d5, c takes d5, knight, bishop to g4, sorry. Now bishop comes in action, threatening to exchange either bishop, shall white knight move, or take the knight. And it's not a really good idea here to move the bishop to attack and then move it back to your own territory, because you're losing a tempo here. And the best response here would have been h3, and then bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, and this pawn here is just not really helping up with white's position, only in the sense that it doesn't allow these two pawns to storm down. But regarding its relationship with this bishop, it's closing the bishop down. So what happened in the game? In the game, sorry, just a second, let me check. Okay, my stream works. So in the game, Nakamura played knight to d2. And this was, as we said, inaccuracy. h3 was better move. So bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, and a6. Now Giri plays knight to a6, probably with some ideas of going knight to b4 here, and then adding additional attacker here on the weakened d5 pawn. Because if you can see this knight here on f6 is also attacking it. So Nakamura sees this and plays rook to d1, adding additional defender on the d5 pawn, and now rook to e8. This was inaccuracy, because knight to c7 was better move here, retreating the knight and still keeping adding the attacker here. Why was this inaccuracy? So let's go back. If he played knight to c7, then maybe knight to b3, developing knight to a higher row and allowing white to do rook to do its job. a6, adding potential outpost for the knight. White would not allow it with the a4 move, and only now develop the rook here. But this is not what happened in the game, right? So Giri decides to play rook to e8, and then knight to c4. Knight to e4. Giri responds, wanting to trade. Giri decides to trade knights. So Nakamura accepts. E takes d4. Rook takes e4. And now a4. a4, the move developing on the queen side and not allowing some potential outpost for the black knight. Shall the black knight go to the c7 and then wanting to jump back to the b5. Knight to c7. So, and also knight on the edge is not doing the job so much, so it's better to reposition it. And Giri does, since knight on the edges is not, controlling a lot of squares. That is well known in the chess. So now bishop to d2, connecting rooks and moving to a more active square, since it's not doing a lot on the c1, except because this b2 square is already defended by this knight here. Queen to d7, and notice please here that although this pawn is hanging here, black cannot take it. Why? Because, let's see, if black takes it and says, oh, yeah, I got a free pawn, then what would have happened? a5 move. Bishop attacking the queen, and then the same time rook attacking this knight. So you would have to address first the threat on the queen with the b6, and the knight takes, rook takes knight, b takes bishop, a5, and then rook to, from a to d1. Now white has connected rooks on b file and a very strong attack and presence in the center. So, and has a slightly better position here. So it's better not to take this poisonous pawn here. So that's why queen to d7 and now queen to d3, not to allow any funny knight jumps. To now take this pawn, since queen is not directly under control of the potential bishop, move to the a5. And now f5 move. Also notice that queen here attacks the rook. So Giri addresses this, plays f5, grabbing more space on the king side and defending the rook. So these moves of GMs always have multiple usage levels, not just one, as you can see. And now bishop to c3, offering exchange of bishops, although f3 here would be also a valid move, attacking the rook. Rook goes back, and now bishop c3, and if bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and this position is offering chances for both, I would say, black and white, although white is just slightly better. So in this position, bishop to c3, rook to d8. Giri plays rook to d8, developing rook behind the queen, and only now attacking the rook. Hikaru decides that it's right time to attack the rook and drive it backwards now. Rook comes back to the e8. So the tension here now between the bishops will have to be resolved soon, with either capturing the bishop or finding another diagonal. So what would happen if Hikaru captures, then queen captures, rook to e1, a6, rook to e2, b5, something like this. So this is a very complex position according to the stockfish, as you can see, and both have their own chances here. So Hikaru decides to address this tension between bishops by moving bishop to the e1 and probably moving into the g3 square. Queen to e7, adding pressure on this e3 pawn. Bishop to g3, bishop to f6, with the aim of coming to the g5 and additionally attacking this e3 pawn. Rook from a to c1, and b6, creating this nice solid pawn structure on the queen side. So for now, white has just the game is almost equal now. White just really has a slight advantage according to the stockfish, but you know, when you're playing, when two human players are playing, I would say that this is just equal position. Now Hikaru decides to go bishop to e1 to add defender, to move to the d2 and then defender on the e3 and potentially avoid trade of bishops shall black bishop have come to h4. Now bishop to g5 and then bishop to d2, as we said. Now that this bishop is protecting this square, Giri retreats the bishop to the f6. And now the critical point of in the game, b4. How did Giri reply? He played queen to d7, maybe eyeing this a4 square in case of exchange, but this didn't happen. So in case of exchange, let's see what Giri had hoped for. So something like this would have happened, but white still has a lot of play here. And but this now is a good position, like for both sides. But especially for the black, but here just this was not a very good move because Hikaru played b5. You know, just grab more space and advantage on the queen side. So the best move here would have been to play knight to a6, and if Hikaru now played b5, knight to b4, arriving at this beautiful outpost on so advanced rank that you can't take immediately with bishop here. Because if you take immediately with bishop, let's see what happens. You take with bishop, c takes b4, king f2, and then bishop to c3. Now look at this position. It's visibly black who enjoys more control and proves to harass the whole position of white. Not by so much, but you can see that black has a lot of control on the white side. So this move was not played. So instead, queen to d7 was played. And now b5. Queen to f7. Bishop to e1. Now that the queen is no longer in the e file, bishop again to e1, maybe potentially go back to the g3 square. Now queen to e7. Rook to b1. And now the other critical position in the game. f4. f4 trying to break this strong central position and gain tactical advantage. Shall Hikaru take here? But let's see what Hikaru played. He played e4, not wanting to take this pawn. But what would have happened if he took the pawn? Then bishop comes with check. If you try to defend, now comes the knight. Here, eating d5. And it's black who has advantage and initiative here. So if you attack the bishop now and take it, black has a really nice move here, takes f4, attacking the queen. Queen has to go back to the d2, and then you see the move with the knight again. Knight e2 check. After king moves, bishop is gone, winning the bishop, and this is a really great position for black. He has a very strong knight on this far inside the white's territory, on the outpost that's not going anytime soon anywhere. So it's really not good to take this pawn here. So Hikaru plays e4. Bishop comes to d4 with check. King h1. Hikaru didn't want to change the bishops here, although he could have. This is still a much better position for white. And now rook to b8. And this was inaccuracy. The better move here, as you can already see indicated by the green lines, was queen to f6. Why? Because queen to f6 would add battery support to this bishop, and look at just this bishop controlling all these dark squares inside the white's territory. It's a strong bishop, and the whole black play and position has to be oriented towards this bishop here, because it's such a strong bishop. But by playing rook to b8, you're now allowing white to get rid of the bishop. How? By playing a bishop to c3. Bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, exchange of bishops happened, queen to f8, and now another critical position in the game, a5, threatening to break this nice pawn structure so far on the queen side, and then mistake. B takes a5. What would have been better move here? Rook from e to d8. Allowing black's knight an escape route, because from here knight can only jump to the a8 or e8 now, and adding additional defender on this pawn here. Shall the queen move? But since this is what has happened, queen takes a5, and now white is attacking black's knight, which is deprived of escape position except for a8. And a8 is really bad position for the knight. It's on the edge of the board. It's really controls. We can say it can only control as much as this pawn here. So it's really, the knight on a8 is really bad, almost useless knight. And we don't want to have such knight in our game. So this knight would need babysitting since queen is attacking him. This one rook needs to defend and one would need to move for the knight to jump there. So really a useless knight, and even knight that needs babysitting. So rook to b7 and e5, offering this pawn in order to attack the knight and add more pressure. Giri takes, and then d6. Really, this knight had to go back to the a8 square, the only possible square here. And now look at this move. Knight takes e5. Hikaru takes with knight, and notice that Giri can't take here since Hikaru is threatening to promote this criminal pawn, we can really call him like that, to another queen. And if rook would take here, then d7, and you really can't stop this pawn. You have to take with rook. And now Hikaru is up a pawn now, and you can really resign the game now. But Giri didn't take the knight here. Knight to b6, and final knight comes, but a bit too late to a square that's a lot more useful for it, and also defends this d7 square and this pawn from advancing to queen. But nonetheless, d7 was still played. d8, rook tries to protect this. d2, possibly doubling the rooks or allowing this other rook to defend the knight. And now look at this queen move with triple attack. Pawn, knight, and rook. But it's still regarded as inaccuracy according to the Stockfish. What happened? Rook to e1, protecting the knight. And now king to g7. This was mistake. Why? What would have been a better move here? Well, queen to f8. Now queen a2 with check. c4, knight takes c4, knight takes c4, queen c4 check. King g7, only now to play king g7. But even though this is still a lot better position for the white. So by playing here, king g7, you're allowing white to have a discovered attack. And look at this, queen c3, threatening to move the knight and have discovered attack. Now queen takes d7 blunder. After knight takes d7 with check, Giri resigns. So I really hope you enjoyed the review of this game as much as I did. If you did, please like and subscribe, and hope to see you some other time. Bye.